Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and Wednesday has once again dawned on us, and thus another Ask a Herbert Erpaderp has also dawned upon us. First, patrons, just thought I would let you know that there is a poll over on Patreon. It's not especially important, just something I'd like to get opinions on. Go check it out if you've got time and you haven't already done so. Secondly, I must apologise to all the people who have seemingly passed away due to a lack of a video on Monday. May you rest in peace. Okay, let's get to the questions, starting with the traditional KV2 related question from Ducking Tanker, who said, what is one improvement you would make to a KV2? I don't know. Do you mean to make it more suitable for a modern battlefield, or better in its own time? I think it's pretty entertaining the way it is. Maybe I would give it a more powerful engine, or at least a better turret traverse system. Wasn't it unable to traverse the turret unless it was on flat ground? That would be a good improvement. I don't think there's any simple change that would make a KV2 actually suitable for modern times, at least against any kind of anti-armor weapon. I'm sure you could still knock down buildings or people with it though. The biggest improvement to a KV2 that I can think of would be parking it in my driveway, preferably while my car wasn't there. I do like my car not being flattened. Mosh said, so I'm currently building a US mid-war force because I'm a sucker for M4A1s and M3 Lees. Also, I want an Italian force and they are coming soon. I've got a 5-pack of Zvezda Lees on the way. 2 questions. I want yellow decals for my force. Where can I get these apart from Battlefront? 2. Does anyone sell nice 15mm bins and stowage? These questions are open, so if anyone else can help. Yellow decals. I can't think of any specific ones to link you, but maybe you can try the Plastic Soldier Company. They might have something like that, and their decals are decent quality. I wish they would actually include them with their kits. You could also try Dom's decals. They might have something. Bins and stowage, I don't really know. I haven't ever actually bought any specific 15mm stowage. I probably should though. I did a quick Google and there seems to be a few manufacturers of decent looking stowage items. I might actually put some more effort into the search later and buy some items to do a review on them because I do like stowage for my vehicles. It seems an easy answer to just say Google it, but that's not a bad answer. Of course, if anyone else has suggestions, put them in the comment section below. After all, the question was open to all. I would be interested to see them, as would Mosh. Salika said, I see you like Kalpis. Is that your favourite Asian drink, and do you prefer any others? I do rather enjoy Kalpis. They recently opened a Daiso near my place, which, if you don't know, is a Japanese, well, not a dollar store because the things cost $2.80 unless marked otherwise, but it's kind of like a dollar store. There's all kinds of random stuff there, including snacks. I grab some Kalpis just about every time I go there. The only other drink I've tried from there is Ramune? I don't know how you say that. It had a very interesting bottle with a glass ball in the neck. I forget what flavour of that I had, but it was pretty tasty. I don't normally try a lot of strange drinks that aren't sugar-free. Kalpis isn't sugar-free, but it's an exception that I occasionally make. It's not as bad as, say, Coca-Cola. I do see other interesting looking drinks in Daiso, so I probably will try more of them eventually. Does anyone have any suggestions for interesting beverages with little to no sugar? If you do, put them in the comment section below. I might try them out if I can find them easily. Zeljako said, 1000 Black Sea Marines or 1 mouse. Mouse, because mouse. Okay, so the Marines could probably come up with some creative way to get some fire down a vent on the mouse or something like that, and there's enough of them that they could surely put that plan into action before the mouse could kill them all. But the mouse just looks way cooler. On last week's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, Top Bunk Productions asked, what do you call a flammable disease? This week he's provided the answer, which is a sick burn. Oh, that was terrible. That was a pretty bad joke and you should probably feel bad, though I do find that kind of amusing. The worst. They continue. Another question, do you play World of Tanks Blitz? If so, what do you think of the upcoming Warhammer 40k Space Marine tanks? I don't play World of Tanks Blitz. Well, I have played it briefly, just to check it out. Playing mobile games isn't really my thing. I mean, usually if I'm out for a reason, and I try to minimize the time that I would spend sitting around doing nothing. And if I'm home and want to play a game, I have a PC. I've always found playing anything more than a simple word game, for example, on a phone less than ideal. I prefer to just catch up on Twitter or Reddit or something like that if I'm using my phone to pass time. So I guess I feel indifferent to the Warhammer 40k tanks being in the game, and this is the first time I've heard of them being in it. I'm sure they could be a lot of fun, and I would give them a play if they were on PC, and I didn't have to pay for them. IS2 said, I'm making my first real Flames of War list. It's a Panzer Grenadier, here, from Forces of War. Do you know if the Battlefront Jagdpanzer 4/70 is any good? Since I will get a platoon for the list, although I can only use 3. Too bad. Also, you should unbox the old Cromwell platoon and get a resin metal Challenger. I have no idea about the Battlefront Jagdpanzer. It's a resin and metal kit and I've never built it, so I can't really say. I would actually prefer a plastic version myself, but Battlefront stuff is usually pretty decent regardless of the material it's made from. I don't think anybody actually makes a plastic Jagdpanzer 4 in 15mm scale. I wish they would. I really should build the old Cromwells. In fact, I've decided that I will. It'll be one of my buffer videos, mostly because they should be pretty quick and easy to build, so I can make the video concurrently with other more time-consuming things. I don't think I'll get the Challenger though. I think, if I wanted to, I could proxy a Challenger using the TOG 2 turret on a Cromwell hull. Not perfect, but close enough. At least for me. Gumias Briada said, would you consider living in Australia forever? Ethan Rowland adds, I would. I love living in Australia. Australia is the best country that has ever existed. Sometimes I would like to live somewhere else, especially somewhere that has a nicer climate. You can't see me, but I'm gross and sweaty. It's 31 degrees here today, which means it's much hotter in my little room with no fans. And it's either fans on or record audio, not both. It's kind of tricky to move somewhere else. I don't really have any skills that are in demand in other countries, and I don't have any money to move overseas anyway. Not that I know much about the process to move elsewhere, but I imagine it's quite difficult if you don't have much to offer. Not trying to feel sorry for myself, that's just the way it is. Maybe if I somehow became able to support myself on YouTube, that could be different, but for some reason I don't see that happening. I included Ethan's response because while Australia is actually a pretty good country, it's definitely not the best. It's pretty hard to say there's an objectively best country. I don't believe there is one. And strangely enough, the people who say X country is the best usually have never lived anywhere else. Not that I know where Ethan has or hasn't lived, but, you know, quite often X place is the best is said by people with no perspective. That said, I do like living in Australia. Life is pretty good here. But, and not to be overly political, we do have a lot of things wrong with our country. Anti-intellectualism is rife. As a nation, we're not very forward-thinking. People see mining and building new coal power plants as the way of the future. Australia is an incredibly sunny country, and I'm always surprised that solar power isn't more of a thing here. Surprised and disappointed. In a lot of ways, Australia is kind of backwards. Sometimes I would swear people around here think it's the 1950s. Racism is a bit of a problem, sexism is definitely a problem, and we're not very good at human rights. We keep people seeking asylum offshore in what could be described as concentration camps. Not to mention that we just wasted millions of dollars that could have been better spent elsewhere on a postal survey with no kind of power, asking if same-sex couples should be allowed to have the same marriage rights as everybody else. Read some comment threads about that if you want to hate people. It really brings out the garbage people on both sides of the argument. Don't get me wrong, it's a good country, but we definitely have problems. It's kind of a disservice to Australia to sit there waving the flag saying, we're the best. Enough rambling on that subject. Joe's Model Kits said, if you did live in a huge KV2-shaped house, would you use the barrel as an emergency exit, or as a slide down to the pool? Why not both? I imagine the turret rotates and the barrel elevates. I mean, if you're building a tank-shaped building, why not go ahead and make it even more complex? A slide sounds like the most fun if having both isn't an option. On my video about the Vallejo plastic putty from last week, Ducking Tanker said, Games Workshop has released liquid green stuff that truly sets like green stuff. You might want to look at it. Unless they've reformulated that to dry better, that's been out for a while, and I bought a tub when they released it. I think it's a little bit better than the Vallejo putty, but as someone commented, it shrinks too. I think that might be a common problem with liquid premixed putties. I don't really remember how bad the shrinking was for the liquid green stuff, but it was enough that I chose to keep using regular green stuff. Top Bunk Productions said, I once had some milliput that I used for filling gaps and applying a Zimmerit effect, but since I only ever kept it in my cold garage, where I make my models, both parts of it are solid and unusable now. Does green stuff have to be kept in particular conditions too? Well, I don't know about cold temperatures and their effects on green stuff. It's not a problem here in Queensland. It certainly does become softer when it's very hot. Not to the point of melting into a liquid or anything crazy like that, but it is definitely softer and more sticky. It doesn't seem to have any adverse effects on its usability though. Like most things, it's probably not the best to expose it to extremes, but it seems to endure the heat well enough, and it's never become all soft and tacky from the heat after it's been mixed and applied. I guess you might have to test it in the cold for yourself. Unless you're freezing it, I suspect it should keep for a while. It just occurred to me, are you sure that it was the cold that caused the issue and not exposure to air? Milliput comes wrapped in plastic, so I figure it shouldn't be exposed to air. Whereas green stuff, at least in the tape form that I usually use, is already partially exposed to the air, and that doesn't seem to cause it any issues. Just a thought. Either way, I'm kind of interested to know how green stuff responds to the cold now. On Monday's video about there being no video, Gumias Briada said, as a hobby lawyer and courtsman, I sue you to speak this in German. Es tut mir leid, dass ich klein Video am Montag hochgeladen habe. That was awful. I am certainly a Germansman. No, I won't try that again. That's what you get. I did Google Translate to make sure that I wasn't saying anything terrible, but what I said, or tried to say, is true. And that's about all the time I have for this week. As usual, leave any comments or questions you would like a response to in the comment section below. Feel free to subscribe to me here on YouTube, follow me on social media, or watch me stream on Twitch. Or do all three if you want. Or none. I'm not a cop. You can do what you want. If you really like the things I do, please consider helping to support the channel over at patreon.com/Herbert Erpaderp. That would be most excellent. Check the links in the description for further information. I shall return soon, so until then, happy whatever it is you're doing, and thanks for watching. Farewell.